You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Good evening and welcome to the Sporting Time Show. I'm your host, Doug Thompson, and thank you for tuning in. We are just weeks away from the beginning of high school fall sports. And of course, I couldn't do this without not my sidekick, but he's usually here. He's always here. Sometimes he's here. Taryn Johnson.
Doug, it's a pleasure to be back with you. 2 weeks in a row. You know, we started a new streak last week, but it's always a pleasure, man. It's always great to be on the Sporting Time Show with you.
But in fairness to you, I mean, you're working 12-hour days. There's big stuff happening at the station here at WNKY. Production, creative, administration, talent. Everybody is, I mean, this is a full team effort.
Yeah, yes, sir. It's really exciting, Doug, to be a part of it. A lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of really big things happening here at the station, and a lot of things that all of us have been really excited about and have been in the works for a while. And so it's an honor to be a part of it. But it's an honor to be a part of the Sporting Time Show as always, my friend.
Well, I
love being with you here.
Listen, and I appreciate that because I know you had to do a quick turnaround last night. You got in the wee hours of the morning.
Did.
And you had to come back here for the show, and I really appreciate that. But we got to get this out of the way because there is a big, not announcement, but you got a shout out.
Yes, an event worthy of celebrating, I would say, Doug. So
you
mentioned my night was, you mentioned my night was late last night. I did get home late, but that's because it was even later because today is my better half, my lovely wife's 30th birthday.
That's huge.
Yeah, we've been married, 2.5 months now.
That's huge.
And we're already celebrating the big 3-0, so it's great. But I had to, she was already asleep. Brittany, is in bed by 9:30, 10. So that was great because I could decorate the apartment with all sorts of 30 birthday streamers and signs and balloons and the whole 9 yards. So it was great to do that, but it's awesome being here with you this morning as well.
And that's huge. And I think we're going to celebrate our 38th in November.
Wow.
And I'll probably just handwrite a note like "Happy Anniversary" and stick it on the counter. But as a newlywed, you got to do these things.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'll get letters
You're
on
about
that.
to be in trouble.
I know, terrible. But anyway, we got a great show. We've got Mark Spader, the head football coach of Bowling Green Purples, as our guest today for 2 segments, defending 5A state champion. A lot going on. You and I are going to review some of the running backs because we did quarterbacks last week.
Yes, sir.
But we got to give a quick shout out to a former Purple, recent former Purple, Luke Brown.
Yeah, Luke Brown, selected by the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 9th round of the MLB draft earlier this week. Just a phenomenal junior campaign at Louisville, but obviously he's somebody who is renowned from this area, Doug. BG East Little Leaguer, Bowling Green Purple, Western Kentucky Hilltopper, then finishes off as a Louisville Cardinal, and now he's on his way to the big show. I mean, it's awesome. You love to see that, and it's great to see the community celebrate Luke Brown as well, Doug. I mean, it's been really, really cool to see the reaction from folks around here, but Luke Brown had a phenomenal junior year campaign at Louisville, and very well deserved to get selected on the second day of the MLB draft. And
that's amazing.
Looking forward to seeing how his professional career pans out and how he works through the minors and hopefully gets to the Pirates.
We have had, we would have to take 3 shows and combine them to talk about all the student athletes that have gone on to play at high college levels.
Absolutely.
And then, some in the NFL, some in Major League. Mark Biggs was drafted out of high school from Warren East to play baseball. Hunter Green was drafted out of high school to play baseball. Not to mention, all the other greatness that we've had in this community. So we are really, really spoiled in this area with the talent that we have.
Yeah, without a doubt, Doug. When I started here in November of 2019, it did not take very long at all for me to realize just how talent-rich this area, South Central Kentucky, is, and I have only, been even more convinced of that as the months and the years go by, because it really is a phenomenal place with a lot of extraordinary talent.
Yeah, and the student athlete, you don't have to play D1. You can do NAI, you can do Division II. These student athletes that are going on to extend their sports career, but also their education and the doctors and the lawyers. And I mean, you know, it goes on and on and on. So congratulations, Luke Brown.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, well, Mark Spader from Bowling Green Purples will join us right here on the Sporting Time Show, WNKY, NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Well, my guest today is the defending 5A state champion in football, the Bowling Green Purples head football coach, Mark Spader. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
So let's talk a little baseball. How about that? Before we get into football, let's talk a little baseball. What about Luke Brown, 9th round to the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Well, couldn't happen to a better guy. You know, he's well loved around here, and particularly in my household as well. But you know, Luke did some really great things for our football program, and of course, he did even greater things on the baseball field. So, you know, he's a fine man, and you know, I'm so proud for him. And this was the opportunity he wanted, and I know he's going to do great things with it.
You know, he obviously, from a media standpoint, a multi-sport athlete, and yes, great things on baseball and the football field. But what is it, you know, and there's a very few percentage of athletes that can go play at the level that he played at college, and then to be able to be drafted into a major league is amazing. But what kind of work ethic did Luke have as a student athlete for you?
You know, a lot of inner drive. You know, guys like that, you wish you could bottle it and give it to a number of your athletes. But, you know, a lot of what was in his heart and soul was God-given as far as his driven, you know, ability to go about his business. And, of course, he was given talent as well. And when you combine those two things, it's really something to watch. And then, as I said, when you add to it also that he's such a great guy that you know, that just completes the package. So, you know, it's good to see he's, you know, multiple sport athlete. He even came through in the clutch his senior year. Our golf coach borrowed him on a regional event on a Saturday, worked it out with Coach Wallace. And, you know, my understanding is he even did well with that. So, you know, one of those multi-talented kids. And it just goes to show you don't have to focus on one thing to be great in one individual sport. I think all of those competitive environments added to that.
Yeah, but you know, those guys that have that God-given athletic ability, they can do really anything. Like you said, he can pick up a golf club and go out and play golf. Probably if he was a bowler, he could do well in that. Just anything he probably touched, he could do well in. So congratulations to Luke Brown. I can't wait to watch him progress through the minors and hopefully into the majors. The Pittsburgh Pirate fans, I know from experience, are really hardcore fans. So if he makes it, you know, which I'm sure he will, to the major leagues, that'll be a lot of fun for him and his family.
Well, we're all going to be watching. So, you know, we're excited as well.
So let's pivot over to football for a second. And before we talk about the team and all those things in the next segment, I want to ask you about this beautiful brand new facility that is being built as we speak, the football stadium, the press box. Kind of take us through where they're at, and as a coach, how excited are you to be able to play on this new facility?
Well, you know, we went through the whole motions of watching the stadium being torn down. So you, of course, have all those melancholy, sad feelings. But and then it was a level parking lot for weeks and weeks and weeks. But now that we're at the tail end of this project and the bleachers are up and the press box is on, and I mean, it looks just as tall and sturdy. It's not the concrete structure it was, but it's still an impressive set of stands. And now we're about 50 yards in with the new field turf. So that green and purple's really popping, and our scoreboard's back up. So it's really shaping up here. And in these next few weeks, I think they're probably going to be completing it. So my window looks right out into this construction zone. So it's been really nice to look at this form up, and we're all excited about it.
Yeah, and they didn't waste any time. I think the last postseason game you had the day after, or soon after that, they were getting ready to go.
We had to have the field house cleaned out the Monday after the state championship game because we were going to lose all plumbing and electrical. They went after it, and although that was kind of a eye-opening for us as a program, I'm certainly glad we did that because they're well on their way to completing it now.
It's not a small field house, Coach. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back. More with Coach Mark Spader right after a short break. You're watching the Sporting Times on WNKY NBC 40. Welcome back to the show again. Mark Spader, the head football coach of the Bowling Green Purples, defending 5A state championship champions from 2020. Coach, let's talk a little football now. During the break, I've got it listed on my sheet here about all the guys that graduated from your program, but that is not new for you guys. And it was once said to me that Bowling Green Purple football is not microwave. You just, as a freshman and a sophomore, is very rare that you're going to get in and be a starter. You have to kind of wait your turn, next man up. I would imagine, you've got a lot of shoes to fill. Kind of tell me on the offensive side, with Connor Cooper being gone as a quarterback and several other key players, what are some of the plans for offensively for the Purples?
Well, we've got 9 spots open. From last year to this year. We're returning, a really key offensive lineman up front with Austin Anderson. But beyond that, we have to rebuild our offensive line, quarterback in behind him, a running back. And when I was younger, things like that used to put me in a panic. And I know we're losing talented players. You don't take a Jordan Dingle off a roster and not think twice about it. But we're fortunate we're at a program that's got great tradition, and our kids, most are willing to wait their turn. Those that do are usually rewarded. And then you end up with those juniors and seniors that when they do get their chance, it's tough to get them off the field. So, we're just now starting. We came back yesterday off the dead period. We had a spring practice that gave us some looks, but we've got a lot of work to do and another tough schedule to get us ready as we head into playoffs this year.
Yeah, talk about the schedule for a second. I joked with you about it being very soft, but you open up, you have Highlands, and I'm just going to highlight some of the teams that statewide we hear often about. Highlands, McCracken, PRP, Boyle County, South Warren, and St. X, and of course Greenwood. You've got the other games as well, but man, you're going right after it. And just kind of talk about the benefit of having a schedule like that.
And that didn't start with me. That goes back to, we went through a string there in 05, 06, and 07 where we lost 3 straight state championships. And, I think we were playing St. X or Trinity at that time. And that was beginning to ramp things up in our program. But when we really started throwing a number of strong opponents on our schedule, there's always the fear you might get beat up or injured, but right. Knock on wood, for the most part, even though we've taken our lumps, we've traveled to some places and they put some scores up on us, and we're not real happy with that in our program. I do think that those road trips and those environments and the pressure that's in our building and on our kids that week, that really helps us in the playoffs, because when we get in those pressure, win or be done situations, our kids have been there before and are able to handle it.
One of the over the last 18 years that we've been involved in region sports and high school sports, rivalries are always a lot of fun to talk about for us. There is a great rivalry now that was established a couple years ago between South Warren and Bowling Green. How much and I'm going to use the word fun, but, you know, how does that make the program interesting to know that you've got a crosstown rival that, you know, could be a state contender as well?
I mean, fun is a word to use, and you know, I do like the energy in the building from it.
Yeah.
Either one of us can win a state championship each year, and for us to be in the same district and have the understanding that the way the playoffs are set up, one of us is going to be eliminated in the second round. You know, beyond Trinity, they were probably the best team that we played last year.
Yeah.
In hindsight, and you know, with all the returning starters they have back, they're likely the favorite this year in 5A, and we get to battle them, you know, in our district. So, you know, that rivalry feeds into our success, and I'm sure it's on both sides.
Yeah.
We have an understanding of them, and they have an understanding of us, and that's what a rivalry is all about. And we went quite a few years around here without a rivalry game, and it does bring a lot of excitement to our area.
Well, you know, I am so excited. August 7th, of course, is the Football Media Day, Coach. We're going to have 21 teams. We are so much looking forward to having your program there as well. Thank you very much for being my guest today, and we'll be seeing a lot of the Purples this season. Thank you.
Doug, thanks as always for having me, and I look forward to more meetings with you.
Thank you, Coach. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Taryn and I wrap things up on this issue of the Sporting Times right here on WNKY NBC 40. Welcome back to the show. Thank you, Mark Spader. Great couple of interviews with him. Can't wait to see the new stadium as it is completed and see what the Bowling Green Purples can do as defending 5A state champions. Now, last week, you and I, we looked at the quarterback situation from several of the different schools from around the region. Today, we're going to do a quick look, summary look at the running backs, and I'm going to kick it off or run it off with the Greenwood Gator, 6-3 last year. Of course, Coach Howard's already been on the show. But the number 1 and number 2 rushers, David Odom and Sebastian Conwell, they're gone. They graduated. Conwell, a ferocious fullback blocker, and Odom just speed. Yeah. But we've got a sophomore that we're going to keep our eye on. Tell Long is his name. He had some carries last year. He is exciting. You and I are going to be talking about him a lot this season.
Absolutely, Doug. Moving on to South Warren, 6-1 last year. Coach Brandon Smith. And this is a team, Doug, that is reloaded and ready to go in 2021. Their leading rusher, Kobe Martin, returns 447 yards last year. I love doing Spartans highlights because when Kobe Martin broke off a long run, you say, Kobe,
right.
And that's it, man. Because
right.
When he gets in the open field, he's gone. South Warren returns their 1-2 punch with Caden Beltkamp and Kobe Martin both coming back. That is going to be a loaded offense, my friend.
Yeah, and think about it. Beltkamp over 1,300 yards passing, and with Martin, with the number 1 rusher, with just 447, right?
Yeah. You got to think he's going to get more than that.
Exactly.
They're both primed for huge falls this year.
So very interesting. Warren East, 4-6 last year. Coach Jeff Griffith, their 1 and 2 rushers, leading rushers, in Alexander and Nolan Ford, who was also the quarterback. They've graduated. Isaiah Gee, he returns. He'll be a junior this year. And sophomore, Trey Price, I don't think is going to be at Warren East. I think he's going to be somewhere else, so scratch that. But Isaiah Gee will be returning to Warren East, and he is an exciting running back as well.
Without a doubt. Moving to Warren Central, 0-7 last year, but they have their first-year head coach, Mark Nelson, a new regime over at Warren Central. Their leading rusher and quarterback, Jace Carver, did graduate, though. He will no longer be a part of the Dragons team. Senior Tyseem Day does return, though. He had 184 rushing yards last year. But when you look back at Warren Central last year, Jace Carver was really the entirety of that offense. Everything went through him, so Warren Central will have to fill the void that Jace Carver leaves.
I can't wait to see what Mark Nelson does with that team.
Yeah.
I mean,
very exciting.
I really cannot wait. Now, let's move on to Franklin Simpson, of course. Max Chaney's second year, man, first year, COVID, what crazy year it was. 3-5-2 was his record. He returns his number one running back, Omar Harrison, who had 552 yards. Quarterback senior Luke Richardson also returns, had 996 yards in passing. They do lose quite a bit of their offensive line, so there's going to be some holes to fill, but you can build an offense around your quarterback and your number one running back.
Absolutely. Moving on to Barron County, 2-6-2 last year. They have a first-year head coach as well, and Tommy Muse. Their running back Gavin Winthrow graduated. He had 241 rushing yards last year, but they do have a senior running back in Ryan Shirley who rushed for 234, and they returned their starting quarterback, senior Jamison Bowie, comes back. He had 1,015 passing yards and 10 passing touchdowns last year, so a very key returner for the Trojans.
Jamison is an exciting quarterback. He's a big quarterback. When he tucks and runs the ball, he's big.
He's hard to get down.
He's hard to get down. So, you know, they've got a first-year head coach in Tommy Muse, as you said, and can't wait to see what happens at Barron County.
Yes, sir.
Now, big announcement, Glasgow Scotties, 7-3 last year, Coach Garman. I believe the Glasgow Scotties win the state championship in 3A.
Whoa.
Mark it down,
Whoa.
jot it down.
Whoa.
I believe in the Glasgow Scotties. I think this is the year they do it. They return all three of their starters, Hunter Scott, Jamarian Long, and Karen Stockton. They rush for over 1,400 yards combined, and as a bonus, their starting quarterback returns John Myers. He had 541 yards passing last year. The entire band is back together for their senior year.
You're giving me chills right now. You can't see it because I have my jacket on, folks, but you're giving me chills, Doug. Glasgow is such a tough team. They were so much fun to watch last year. Returning that much of their offense, watch out for the Scotties. I like your bold prediction, my friend.
They're going to do it. Listen, we're out of time, but remember, August 7th is the Football Media Day. You can watch it live on stfanclub.com. Check out social media. We'll let you know how you can do it. It's going to be an exciting time, and happy birthday, Brittany, to you. For Doug Thompson and Taryn Johnson, have a fantastic week. We'll see you same place, same time. Good night, and have a great week.